got a question for us, Ryan?
Yeah, there's Sebastian Perez from YouTube says, if Ferraris were 99 cents to download, will VR eliminate classism or make it worse?
Well, that's a kind of thoughtful problem. I like question. I mean, broadly, VR is reducing. So VR is so positively impacting class and discrimination profoundly. I mean, right now we don't know where each other are from, for example. And if you walk into a bar in San Francisco, even most likely people are from San Francisco, and that's just not true here, right? We had a show of hands earlier as to how many people were not in the United States, and it was I think the majority. And so there's a big thing happening there. I do think, like the questioner said, the reduced cost of things in the virtual world hopefully does have a similar effect, right? Because it shifts the monopoly, or it shifts the manufacturing leverage to the individual creator more so, right? Because if you can make something amazing like that remarkable pendant that you have on in real life as well as in virtual life, that does something really beautiful. In the virtual world, the manufacturing backplane associated with doing that is like basically close to zero. Where, in the real world, that thing you have on, it has some really nice metal work on it. And, somebody that just has a good idea isn't going to make a metalwork pendant. Yeah. It's still quite a bit of work. But here, it's none. So, I mean, I hope that was the gist of the question. I mean, maybe I'm a little too glass half full, being...
There's a new class in VR, though. There's the high-end class that have an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift. Right. There's the middle end that has the Samsung Gear VR. And then there's the real low end, which is people coming in from Google Cardboard, or no VR at all and using their phones or tablets or laptops to dive into a virtual world.
I was talking to somebody the other day, kind of an abstract idea there, is that bandwidth may be the ultimate class discrimination and time and latency, right? As I was showing you, to play slaps, for us to feel normal right now, you're nodding at me as I speak, which helps me understand that you're listening and stuff like in the real world. It takes about a tenth of a second. If we make one of the things that feels different about high fidelity is that this is very fast and you are able to actually respond to me like you are right now. That takes a latency.
High five,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. We can do that. We can really, we could dance. Like I can here, follow my hand, right? Follow my hand. I can say, I can just do things like that. Yeah. But basically that requires about a tenth of a second delay. The world is about a tenth of a second around now, halfway around in terms of the speed of light in an optical fiber. So we're in pretty good shape, but I do think that bandwidth and latency may actually be a sort of a separator in a way that is
There's some good news coming there, and it's called 5G. 5G gives us 35 gigabits per second down to our headset or our glasses or our phones. And it has
Is that really true? 35 gigabits?
35 peak. At Mobile World Congress, Huawei was showing a system which was running at about 25 gigabits per second. And it gives you 2 millisecond latency to the cell tower, which is pretty fast.
Crazy.
And it gives you a lot more devices per cell tower. The problem is the cell tower needs to be closer to us. It needs to be about 1.5 kilometers away instead of 15 kilometers. And that means that Verizon or T-Mobile or Sprint has to, or your telecom infrastructure has to put a lot more cell towers around you, and they have to have fiber to them. So we're going to see a new class of people who live in, let's say, Singapore is going to get 5G really quickly because there's a lot of density of humans there. But like I live in Half Moon Bay where there's 13,000 people that live, and we only have one cell tower that serves that 13,000 people. So now Verizon has to invest a lot more money in bringing fiber into our communities, and that's going to take longer.
About 5G, we've been talking to folks like Huawei as well, and it's amazing. It's going to be really interesting if big changes can happen in like shared or social VR because of these high bandwidth connections. And I wonder if it won't happen, for example, in China first, because there's such an aggressive deployment of this 5G stuff.
Keep in mind, China's a big place. We, you and I usually only go to Shanghai or Beijing or Shenzhen, one of these big cities that has 20 million people in it. Those places will get 5G really quickly, but they'll have the same problem for their poor people. They have 300 million people who make a few dollars a day in their country, and those people probably won't get 5G anytime soon. But what else is happening? Facebook and Google are building devices that'll fly over our head at about 80,000 feet Google's building the Loon balloons, and Facebook has a new drone that they're building called Aquila. Right, it's a big, very efficient plane that can stay up for months at a time, and will spray 5G down to the ground. Now we'll get a little bit more latency because that's going 80,000 feet instead of to a cell tower. But
a couple milliseconds, yeah.
But still, the world is getting pretty crazy in the next few years.